Works better with the microphone. Good morning, everybody. All right. Let's straighten that as well. Okay, great. Okay, we're off to a great start. Hi, guys. My name is DJ Eshelman, and I read a proverb every day. And today's proverb is right along the line with the day of the week. So it's Proverbs 6. I'm looking forward to this one because there's a lot of practical wisdom, there's a lot of highlights, a lot of quotes. And so I'm going to be reading this in the English Standard Version today. But before we get into that, let's start with a little bit of prayer. So, Father God, thank you so much for a bright and sunny day where I live here in the Nashville area. And I give you thanks for all the moisture and everything like that we've been getting, and all the things like that are great. But also all the ways you've blessed me personally, and I do give you thanks for those. And Father, this morning I ask that you would grant me the words that I need to say for the meditations of my heart, and that those may be pleasing to your ears and to Holy Spirit. See you to come into this time today and make this a blessing to others as well. So it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen. Right. Practical prayers are good stuff. So while I begin here, let's put up our QR code. Trying to get better about the way these events are structured to where there's links and stuff in the description. I'm trying to get back into the mode here. This is something I used to do a lot of, and so I'm trying to get back into that as well. So this was a great excuse for that. So let me also pretend I was prepared and share my screen over here. There we go. Outstanding. All right. So let's dive into this here. Proverbs 6, reading from the ESV or English Standard Version here. There it go. Oh, gracious me. One of those mornings, folks. Practical warnings. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, have given a pledge for a stranger, if you are snared in the words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and save yourself. For you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go, hasten and plead urgent with your neighbor. Give your eyes to no sleep, your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. So this is something that's financial advice comes in a lot into these kind of things. And so I'll invite people that are watching live, or to that are after the fact, if this is something that still resonates today, if this is something where um, it's something that has been an experience of yours. Um, if you've put up security for your neighbor, what that means is you've either vouched for them, or more specifically, you've given them money to handle their debts, that sort of thing. And it seems like a generous thing to do at the time, and it is a one of those kind of best intentions kind of things where you're saying, okay, I'm going to just basically pledge my services to a stranger, that sort of thing. And you've gotten caught in that process, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, whatever. Um, and so yeah, this is it is a very strange passage in that regards. Is like, okay, this becomes your priority to get out of this now. This is now your task is to do this. Um, and so I think this next little section here is actually one of my favorites. And so, but it's interesting in the context of what was just said. And so it is interesting to me in that regards. But it is a little bit of financial advice as well, in a strange kind of way. So let's dive into this. Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having a chief, officer or ruler. She prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding hands to rest, and will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. This is a passage that I have uh, highlighted in other places and other translations as well. That whole actually the whole section, the go to the ant, oh sluggard. It is a again, we can consider the audience here for Proverbs, or we say that this is a father speaking to a younger man, or even in this case, a future king. And there's an element here of be calling to wisdom for that reason, because they want to be assuring the kingdom that basically that this person will be a good ruler. And so there's a aspect of that with this, that is, you don't want to be somebody who's lazy. And but what this is again following that pattern of why this matters, what this looks like, and then the result of that action or inaction in this particular case. And so when we when the words are, how long will you lie there, oh sluggard, that it's a call to action. It is a call to not just be someone who's like, well, I'm just going to rest for a while longer. And we say these things, and then a little while longer becomes a lot longer. And that's the way that story goes, right? We're always a little bit becomes a lot, and becomes a lot, and it keeps, and then it becomes a pattern, and then all of a sudden it is. It says right here, poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. And it's that extreme for a reason. It's not by accident. This is a phrase here. So anyway, let's move on. So I think there's a lot more that goes into this here. Verse 12 says, "A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech, winks his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger. With perverted heart devises evil, continually sowing discord. Therefore calamity will come upon him suddenly. In a moment he'll be broken beyond healing." Wow. This is a kind of a not only signaling to what people might see out in the world, but this is also a warning not to become this. Again, same pattern. If you are a worthless and wicked person, then you do these things, and then calamity comes upon you, and that's the result. So that's that. Again, same pattern. It's important to see this throughout these words of wisdom, and that's a good lesson, though, is to not be allowing ourselves to fall into these patterns, because we don't want the calamity. We don't want to be broken beyond healing. We don't want that. So we're warned against it. And this is always an interesting little passage here. Verse 16, there are six things that the Lord hates, seven that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, false witness, breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. Can't do my hands. Yeah, there you go. So a total of seven things here. So let's dive into this a little bit. So these are all of a sudden, just like out of the blue, he's saying there are these things that God hates, that he finds an abomination. In other words, don't be caught with these things because they're that extreme. But I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, gosh, how common are these kind of things? How much do we see this in our world today? Um, how much do we see this in just out in the streets, or even even in things like politics? Actually, a lot of this is in politics. Heart that devises wicked plans, a feet that haste to run to evil, false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're seeing that a lot these days, aren't we? Um, And feel free to add some comments to this as well. I want this to become more and more interactive, where we're saying, okay, what kind of things are you seeing as well? So feel free to add those if you want, and kind of acknowledge those as well. But one that caught my eyes here is this right here, this haughty eyes, lying tongue. These are things that are said first, but interestingly enough, they're not reserved for those that are in the extremes. They're not kind of exclusive to the people that are we're talking about here, that are in the public eye, or caught behind the scenes, or doing things in dark alleys. No, these are things that are us. Haughty eyes, lying tongue. These are things that we get caught in doing very easily. We get ensnared into these things, and we need to be careful that we don't get caught into these things. And so that, I think, is why it's a bit of wisdom here to have this displayed. And so we need to be aware of that. Let's move on to verse 20. And again, this is a young man audience, but it's still relevant for us and relative for the church as a whole, as a metaphor. But it works in both kind of things, and just literally for you know, married and unmarried men. So here's some additional warnings against adultery. Verse 20, my son, keep your father's commandment and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them on your heart always, tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. And when you wake, they will talk with you. So we're off to a good start, right? Here's some wisdom for you. Verse 23, for the commandment is a lamp and the teaching a light, and the reproofs of discipline are a way of life, to preserve you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress. Do not desire her beauty in your heart, and do not let her capture you with her eyelashes. For the price of a prostitute is only a loaf of bread, but a married woman hunts down a precious life. A man can carry fire next to his chest. Oh, sorry. Can a carry fire next to his chest and clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is he who goes to his neighbor's wife. None who touches her will go unpunished. People do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his appetite when he is hungry. But if he is caught, but if he's caught, he will pay sevenfold. He will give all the goods of his house. He who commits adultery lacks sense. He does it to destroy himself. He will get wounds and dishonor, and his disgrace will not be wiped away. For jealousy makes a man furious, and he will not spare when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation. I'm sorry. He will accept no compensation. He will refuse you to multiply gifts. Whew, that was a lot. That was a lot. So, and fair warning, we're going to talk about this more tomorrow. It's going to happen. But I like a lot of this is in terms of just, this isn't just a parent saying these things to be um, barking orders or anything like that. There is a compassion here. Um, this is not just a simple do this or you're going to hell kind of thing. It's not what this is. This is I want to preserve you from. That is the pattern here, is that there is a notion of, I don't want you to suffer. I don't want this to be something that kills you. And so I want you to be aware of this, and is taking this head on. Um, Honestly, I think this is something that we miss sometimes. Um, and that is and we'll, again, we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, and probably throughout this whole time. So we'll just go ahead and do it a lot here. And it's to say that this is not just a simple lust kind of a thing. This is when you desire beauty in your heart, that is desiring a connection, not just a simple, like, sexual desire. That's not what this necessarily is. That might be something that is involved initially in some of these cases, but the danger here is much deeper than that. the danger is much more intense, that you can have more damage made by a connection that shouldn't be there. And so, just talking about this, and again, I'll say this a lot, and that's good. Just like Proverbs, it's a good thing to say. For me, I have a saying that you will not rise to the occasion. You will only rise to your level of preparedness. And so, in that regards, again, it's one of those things where it's just like we sometimes think that we will just have this romantic notion of, oh no, I'll be able to overcome that. Um, and it's not that. It really is one of those scenarios where you need to have good practices in place. And my saying is based on another saying that's common in the military, that says you'll only rise to the level of your systems. You'll only be, sorry, that's not right. Something like that though. That you'll only perform at the level of your systems is the way that goes. And so that's so setting up things with your in your life and with your spouse, if that's appropriate, or even with your friends, sometimes to keep you accountable to these kind of things are what's necessary to keep you from these actions. Um, and so I like this too, and it's always good when your mother chimes in because she's been doing her own series of videos every morning, and I'm really proud of her for that. And so what she just said here is, in a culture that perceived women as possessions, this passage really does offer respect for marriage and for women in general. And that is a great point. That this is not just a simple um, women are bad, or whatever. It really is there's a respect here for that, and it's holding it up as something precious to have a good relationship with a woman that's right for you, and that sort of thing, and that is holding that up, and it gives power to the woman as well, as we'll see later on in other passages as well. So yeah, thanks, mom. Good to see you this morning. Obviously, Facebook has started working for me. I figured out the challenge that I was having, so it's good to have people on live as well. That's classic. Um, and honestly, there's some things here too that we'll talk about more and more about the concept of boredom and being called astray in marriage. It's a real thing. It is not just something we sweep under the rug and say, nope, that's not possible because we took a vow. No, it is very possible, and it does happen, and we need to be aware of these kind of things. And that's what this is kind of talking about here. So it is gonna. Can a man carry fire to his next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? It's one of those things where it's just like, if you get too close to the situation, you're going to be burned by it. If you spend too much time alone, for example, with your neighbor or friend's wife, yeah, yeah, and guess what? There's this kind of things that can happen. You can start to see that kind of that, I call it like the Instagram snapshot of that person, and you're not getting the whole person, the whole situation, because you're not living with that person, but you're getting these little snippets, and you're getting their best self a lot of the times. You're not getting their just woke up in the morning, hair's not done, kind of kind of perception. You're getting the prepared to be more in public, let's put our best face on. That's what you're getting out of this, and so it's natural to be attracted to that sort of thing. And this goes for women too. Honestly, this is something where you sometimes will be getting the best case scenario with a lot of the guys out there. You'll be getting that notion of nobility that may not be 24/7. You'll get a kind of a false picture. You might be led to be attracted to them more than you are to your husband. That it does happen, right? So it's something to be aware of. I would say not just today, but especially today. I think there's been an increase in making this popularized. It's been invading popular culture in a big way. Some of the things I'm reading, researching about it, I'm not going to bring up today, but just are positively disturbing about trends in the adult film industry. I call it adult film industry, but I think that's actually a misnomer. It's actually targeted more towards children, so let's call it what it is. So there's some things that are happening in that realm that are pretty terrifying. I mean, and I'm going to take the research uh, at its word on this, but it's just there's a lot of this that is being glamorized, that sort of thing, and kind of I wouldn't say instructed per se, but there's also just kind of like a lack of consequence. It's just shown as this idealized kind of a thing, and so um, yeah, but it is one of those things where it's like this is um, yeah, always an interesting thing here. People know how to despise the thief he steals to satisfy his appetite when he's hungry. Um, and so it is kind of that doesn't make it right, does it? If he's caught, he'll pay sevenfold. He'll give all the goods of his house. And so it is kind of the whole like people might not despise the behavior. They may sweep it under the rug, I guess is the expression there. They may say, you know what, this is just the way things are, and it's not my business, whatever. But if they're caught in it, or they caught somebody else, victimizing them, then all of a sudden their perspective changes, doesn't it? It really becomes one of those things that does um, knock us into action at that point, and the consequences are heavy. Um, and so that really is it this is actually still true today, very much so. If it is one of those things where that slight is too much, and uh yeah, revenge is still a very desired thing in these scenarios. It's a very can be very ugly, and so there's a reason why we're warned against it. And yeah, so that's my advice to you today is to stay away from these kind of put systems in your life that prevent these things from happening for you. um yeah, good to be with you today. And I knew I'd go longer than I was intending today. That was just going to be a thing, because this one is one of those proverbs that just has a lot of good stuff to it. And so honestly, so I know we talk about a lot and we get caught up in certain things, but this is the one that is getting me lately. I'll just be completely blunt and honest with you right now. Is that this is probably, in fact, I'm going to mark this green as an action item here. Can I do that? Green means go. Okay, maybe I need to undo the highlight first. Then I can do that. There we go. There we go. Um, this is a notion of mine lately. Is like, oh, you've been working hard. Maybe it's time for some rest. Well, that time for rest is has been meaning that I've become a bit of a sluggard myself lately, and I need to get back into the swing of things. I can't just rely on the goodness that I've had in my life recently. I need to get back into action. It's a big reason why I'm doing a lot of this is to get myself into better habits and get myself into a kind of a reset in my life and doing things more proactively, and not allowing a notion of rest to overtake me. Obviously, it's appropriate to be rested, but but becoming a sluggard is not something I want. And so I'm looking at that because there is a consequence that poverty come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. It is a real thing, and it does come suddenly. Trust me, I know this to be true. I know that this is something that happened to me personally 2 years ago for sure, that I thought it was going to be okay, and I was not looking at things the right way, and so it turned out not to be okay. I'd made some pretty big mistakes that were coming from my complacency, and then it caught up with me. And so there's a lot of that too. Is that I'm not saying I'm not for the hustle thing, not at all. But at the same time, there is a setting of goals and meeting of goals, and not allowing that to be something that's like, oh no, I'm just tired, I just need a nap, just a little bit of rest here, and allowing that to become a reason not to do things, or like a unconscious excuse not to be doing the things you need to do, because hey, that's the path to poverty, and we don't want that. We want to be people that are living in God's abundance. And so, whatever that means in your life is going to be different for each person. But for me, I don't want it to be something where I am a burden or anything like that ever. I want to be a provider. I want to be somebody who is able to easily give and joyfully give above and beyond what is called of me to do. And so that is what I want. And so that is incompatible with being a sluggard. And so I want to purge that out of my life. And so that's a big deal for that. Just realized I've got that backwards. There you go. There's my face. So tomorrow, we're going to be doing a live broadcast, but it's not actually going to be me live. Just FYI, it is going to be a rebroadcast of something I recorded on the 4th. And so it's a little experiment, but I do encourage you to join me live and still make comments. And I won't be able to highlight those on the screen, but I will try and reply to those as I kind of see them. And so there's that. Again, most reliably for these streams is going to be on my Facebook page, which is in the QR code up there. And Deej Votions is the the handle on that for the web browser there. So facebook.com/Deej Votions, I believe, is the right way to say that. So anyway, we'll obviously be back with you tomorrow. I'll be yeah, prepping for my live worship set as I play in my church band. But I will have a message for you. Spoiler alert: we're going to dive more into the adultery thing. Go figure. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, quote unquote. So feel free to join me then, and I'll be back with you live on Monday at 8:30. So I will see you then. Until then, continue to be blessed by the best, and then be a blessing